Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. As the finish date, when the decision has got to be made about this constitutional amendment bill number 3 nears, it looks like it's all out war, no holds barred in the factional fight between Mnangagwa and Chiwenga. The very fact that this speech was given in a church setting at least, speaks volumes about the seriousness of this factional war. For those of you who have not heard the speech, here it is.
Say my case. Noda kupaenwedza musi waEzekiya. Hezekiya akatonga majuta kwenguva yakareba akaita mambo ane mukurumbira. Akazoona iye asingafanirwi kufa. Achifanira kutonga majuta nekusingaperi. So Mwari akapinda chirwere maari ndokubva arwara achida kuona kuti uyu munhu akakimbika iro. Nomba atuma Isaya muprofita wake. Zvachinotaurira muranda wangu Hezekiya kuti aronge zvemusha wake nekukasira nguva yake yakwana. Ndakuda kumutora. Hapo Hezekiya wakaenda kumadziro emba yeumambo ndokutanga kurova madziro. Imi muri Mwari akaita sei? Hakuna umwe mambo akatonga vanhu ava kudarika ini ndini ndinogona. Hakuna umwe futi achakwanisa kuvatonga kunze kwangu. Akazhambarara akakutunga achabuda musodzero. Jehovha akati ndobva wadzokera futi kuna Isaya zvikanzi iwe dzokera kubenzi rangu riya. Unoritaurira kuti ndanzwa kuchema kwaro, saka ndichariwedzera makore magumi nemashanu. Chimupai poriji yemaonde adye kuti apore. Shasha nobva yapora akasimaira nobva yasvika. But Mwari aiziva zvakanga zviri kuuya. Kwakauya hondo yaNebhukadhinezari, vasori, iye manje nekuzungaira kuya. Ndokutienda ndokubva anotaridza apuhwa ndokuigirwa zvipo. Ndobva achienda zvikanzi hande ndokurakidza pane arika tisingakundwe. Ndokunorakidza arika. Avaya ndokudya avo ndokubva kuti havasina kudzokera kwedu. Ndokuzouya nehondo svinyu yaasina kupedza. Haana kwaaita kana mwedzi mitatu hatina mbonzwa kwayakanyorwa mubhaibheri. Akazopedza 15 years ari pasi mujera. Mwari haana kumutorera 15 years akamupa. Asi akanga ari pai? Ari jera.
Here we go. Ben.
Good day to
What do you
you,
think of
and
this?
good day to you, and good day to our viewers. Thank you for joining us. You know, these are two vicious snakes that are fighting amongst themselves. And after they are done, their reward is us, the mice. The victor will consume us. We know what these gentlemen are capable of. It would be very, very naive for us to sit there cheering either one side. Because at the end of the day, we are the dinner. It is actually very shocking when I see the likes of Themba Moliswa trying to justify the other. You know, according to the rumors, he was paid handsomely to go destroying, Chiwenga's faction. And he is very active in doing all that. But the bottom line is none of these characters are good for the nation. None of these characters are there to build the nation. They are just the same. And I think we've got a good example when we removed Mugabe and we put Mnangagwa, thinking one dictator is better than the other. It doesn't work. None of them are good for us. That's the bottom line.
The tragedy here is this is a no-holds-barred fight. And to be quite honest, this is nothing new in SANU-PF. The factional fights in SANU-PF for power is the norm. The ZANU-PF thugs, ever since they got into power in 1980, they've been either fighting the opposition or fighting themselves among themselves to consolidate their own stranglehold on power. So this is nothing new. But the fact that in this case here, Chiwenga should be resorting to saying this in a context of the church goes to show how serious this factional war is reached, how vicious it has reached. And the tragedy, of course, is that while they are engaged in this factional war among themselves or with the opposition, the country has been neglected. We have said on this platform that Zimbabwe is a failed state. It is a failed state. And up to 49% of our people are today living in abject poverty. And this whole fight for dominance is only detracting the ruling elite from the business of managing the country's economy, dragging the nation deeper and deeper into the abyss. This is the tragedy of Zimbabwe. The ordinary people have nothing to gain from this factional war. They have everything to lose.
Look, we have to realize that, church settings these days, funerals too, have become fertile ground for these politicians to prey upon the weak. I mean, look, we have seen the president himself putting on a robe, going to, the Mapostoli sector. We have seen Chamisa going up and down funerals. We are seeing Vice President do the same thing. We have seen the other faction where Tagwirei has been on the pulpit, at the SDA talking slogans and ZANU-PF. It's normal to them. This, and you are right to say it is now a dog eat dog situation where they have gone into desperation mode to try and win the next, the next victim. The children of Zimbabwe, they need to wake up and see what really is going on here. And the truth of the matter is, these guys are fighting for power. They are fighting to see who is going to be the next top dog, who is going to rule the roost after all this here circus has, has settled. But the problem here that we have is, and this is a very, very good question that we should ask ourselves. It's an individual question. Are any of these candidates going to bring back or bring a better Zimbabwe? The Zimbabwe that was projected to be the next Singapore, the Zimbabwe that was projected to be the next South Korea. That should be our benchmark, not to find out who is better, Mugabe or Mnangagwa and whoever comes. They have all failed. You cannot celebrate being number one in a special class. You need to be a big fish in a big pond. Zimbabwe was great at 1980. It's not great because Mnangagwa took over from Mugabe. The same is still the same. And this is where we are very, very wrong, where we are now celebrating a few roads and bore commissions that Mnangagwa has done. And we say this is a great job. But when you look down the line, you see what a real great job is. So this whole factional fight and praying on the weak, visiting churches, visiting funerals, it's all done by weak men wanting to prey on the mice. Be very careful.
I think what must be remembered here is that Mnangagwa is not different from Mugabe, was no different from Mugabe. Just as much as Chiwenga is no different from Mnangagwa. For the ordinary person, there is really no choice here. This is a false choice. This factional war is between two dictators. It is as simple as that. For those who have forgotten who Chiwenga is, here is a reminder of what he and Mnangagwa did in 2008.
I also know that Mugabe conceded defeat on 2008. He found Mbeki and Obasanjo to concede defeat. I hope that Thabo Mbeki and Obasanjo will one day make that public. But one of them, I won't say which one, told me that Mugabe phoned them that Saturday night and said, look, I lost the election and I concede defeat. And I know that Mugabe stuck to his guns, was prepared to go. His wife was since bags packed to go somewhere on the following day when Mnangagwa and Chiwenga approached him and said, you stay where you are. And then they contrived the runoff, sadly with the help of South Africa. And runoff took place, very violent. 360 people were killed. I don't know. The South African, I came here as part of a delegation to Cape Town to see members of the ANC. I don't want to mention names, they're my friends. I saw them, and through them, a cabinet committee subcommittee of South African cabinet was set up on the Zimbabwe issue. It was on the basis of that cabinet committee that South Africa did not recognize the runoff. And indeed, it was the basis of that committee that Thabo sent the generals to South Africa, to Zimbabwe. I met them, and I was one of the few to have read the report, because I was flying to Joburg in the company of General Romano, who was a friend. He passed away, no? That's why, yeah. And I also took people who had lost their hands in the violence to the South African embassy in Harare. And Romano broke down in tears. How can a liberation movement treat these people like that? He was a broken man. So there's no doubt at all here in South Africa as to the brutality of the regime in Harare. So it amazes me, it angers me.
That is the tragedy of Zimbabwe. We have got the two individuals who were responsible for the Operation Mafutera Papi in 2008, whose primary purpose was to punish the ordinary Zimbabweans for having dared to reject ZANU-PF. The two individuals are now fighting over who should be the top dog. That fight has nothing to do with the ordinary person. This is the tragedy of Zimbabwe. We keep going round and round in circles.
No, for me, I think it is really, really sad that we are finding ourselves having to choose. I don't think there is a choice. I think if we were to use the word choose between the two, there really is no choice. Nothing good will come out of all this. This is ZANU-PF fighting ZANU-PF. The same way Mnangagwa fought Mugabe and took over. And he is now the source of our pain and our anguish. We know what both these men are capable of. So it's a false choice. It's one dictator for another. And that is exactly what Zimbabwe doesn't need now. That is exactly what we should have learned from our participation in removing Mugabe and putting in Mnangagwa. We will be doing exactly the same thing. The people of Zimbabwe really need to wake up to the reality that a mistake was made in 2017. There's a name that is given to it, that makes us the laughing stock. They call it Zungu Day. If we are to make another Zungu Day, surely it would mean to the world that we are a group of people that cannot be helped. We are beyond any help out there. We would have failed ourselves and failed ourselves dismally. My hope is that the people of Zimbabwe open their eyes and see what all these political actors are all about. And once we have realized that, this is when we need to come up with individuals of our integrity, individuals that are there to lead Zimbabwe to the Singapore to the South Korea that it once was projected to be. These clowns here, they will never take us anywhere. Thank you.
Last issue that must be addressed here is how will this whole circus end? At the present moment, there is no doubt that Mnangagwa has got all the trump cards. He has managed to build the 2/3 majority in parliament, in the Senate, and as we already know, the proposed constitutional amendment bill has been worded in such a way that there is not going to be a referendum. And so the Mnangagwa faction is set to get his wish. And listening to VP Chiwenga there, this has set up a situation where another coup is almost the only option he has left. We can't rule it out. We had one in 2017, and now we're going to have another one. The tragedy is, of course, the 2017 military coup did not solve anything. We just swapped one dictator for another. Another coup will not solve anything either, because there's no doubt that if that coup was to take place, Mnangagwa will be putted out as Mugabe was putted out, and Chiwenga will take his place. Forget this issue about there will be free, fair, and credible elections. Just as in 2018, there could not be free, fair, and credible elections, because those who had staged the coup were not going to give up power. They were not going to risk losing power in a free, fair, and credible election. It is that simple. And some people have said Zimbabwe is a failed state. Why? One of those reasons is political instability. A country that cannot solve its governance problem except by military coup is politically unstable. And another coup will only confirm that we are unstable. If Mnangagwa has his wish and Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3 is passed, all we will get is the present dictatorship with the same dictator staying in power for another 2 years. They may add some more years to that. But a political system that only gives ZANU-PF as a party even more dictatorial powers. Zimbabwe, either way, is becoming even more politically unstable. That is the tragic reality of Zimbabwe. Is there anything we can do to stop it? I think that question is no different from asking somebody when you jump out of or you're thrown out of the plane to make a parachute. Stop it how? all those people, opposition leaders who have pretended that they can stop it, let's see whether they can stop it. I don't see how you can stop it. We should have never allowed ourselves to get this far. That is the lesson that we must learn. We must stop participating in flawed electoral processes only to give ZANU-PF legitimacy. That is the lesson. Those who are tempted to support Chiwenga because, well, he's better than Mnangagwa, they're making the same foolish mistake the nation made in 2017. Swapping one dictator for another. How foolish can you be? Thank you very much, those of you able to join us. Hope you'll be able to do it again tomorrow. And we encourage those of you who would like to join us to use the link at the bottom of your screen there. And we can add you in and you can express your views. Thank you very much, Ben. And thank you to those of you who were able to join us today. Have a good day.